to talk about civil disobedience, because among Christian circle, we have been somehow instructed with this idea. That means quite a number of Hong Kong people has know about this idea, and also they are not really vehemently objecting this idea, because we have the June 4th massacre before us, and the June 4th massacre at that time is actually based on legitimate Chinese law. So actually at that time until now, I think in terms of the basic understanding, many Hong Kong people understand that sometimes there are some unjust law within a society that you got if not a responsibility, at least some right cause to resist it. If we talk about civil resistance.
Yeah, because I would say you haven't just got a right to resist, you've actually got responsibility to resist as well. And I would say the people, there's an expression in English, for evil to thrive, good people do nothing. And in some ways, people who sit there and don't actually engage in civil disputes, it could be morally said, they are
not irresponsible.
I've got to choose my words carefully, but I think you know what I'm saying is, people, I would say, in Hong Kong's situation and in China, we're dealing with a situation where we're dealing with an unjust government, and in that context, there's a moral justification for doing it. In a country which is already fully democratic and so on, it's perhaps more difficult to justify. But I think, from my experience, the democracy movement in Hong Kong, they don't realise that. That in the political and social situation in Hong Kong, they've actually got a moral responsibility to engage more in it, I think.
I understand what you mean. Now let me respond in two ways. Firstly, if for me as a theoretician, I can always not only talk about a responsibility to resist, but also a right, because you have mentioned it already. Until this is a fully democratic society, and until this society has complied with the United Nations Human Rights Charter fully, otherwise, actually deriving from the Human Rights Charter, there are lots of areas of this society's law that are still far lagging behind the spirit and the letter of the United Nations Charter. That demands some kind, that means we have some rights according to the International Charter of Human Rights to resist this kind of laws and disobey it even, right? Now this is something. Right? The other point I want to mention is actually the Chinese translation of this word is disobedience. Is not an exact translation. It's a kind of metaphorical translation. We call it Kong Ming. And this Kong Ming actually has a long history and harking back.
You can say the exact translation. Kong is resistant, Ming is fate. Resist to fate. Because it's a bit different, but
Chinese has not this very strong transcendental dimension, right? Because we don't have a very strong religion, transcendental religion. But Chinese also always has this understanding of we are subject under certain kind of fate, and imperial order that is faithful for many of us. So they 革命, that means revolution, 革命. In Mandarin is actually to overturn this fate, right? So this civil disobedience we translate it metaphorically as Kong Ming. That means we resist this fate, this fateful and unjust order, something like that.
And going back to the religious thing, actually, I think Jesus Christ himself, you see, I studied in quite close detail to do with the Bible, and he was doing that actually, wasn't he? Turning over tables in temples and things like that. He was actually quite a radical guy,
respecting their Sabbath law.
Yeah, and that's right, refusing to obey different laws, and often, the church establishment nowadays days, they don't actually like to think about him doing all that. But actually, if you actually read the Bible closely, he was actually engaging in it.
This is what Pasolini's Gospel of Matthew is demonstrating.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and as regards the idea as a theory, I can't think of any country, any democracy movement in the world which has ever won the right, won universal suffrage without engaging it in some forms of civil disobedience. Yes. And but obviously different cultures have engaged in it in different ways. And what I would interested to try and encourage Hong Kongers thinking a bit more is what is the right kind of civil disobedience for Hong Kong that works in a positive way and is a way to sort of get the majority of people supporting you.
I will immediately join you in saying that if this case of a citizen radio is a good case of civil disobedience because you already spot an area, a so-called grey area or even unjust area within the existing law. Right? That means this so-called broadcasting rule is actually unjustly limiting the freedom of speech. Right? And then you try to do something that challenge this law and bring it to court and let the court judge it. Right? The problem now is only the government is doing some very dirty jokes, dirty tricks, right? Because they try to utilize the other parts of law, the administrative protraction of law, in order to protract the process of finally righting the wrong of this law. Right? This certainly is scandalous, but certainly is perfectly within their powers to do so. It's only that the Hong Kong citizens themselves, whether they have the discretion to understand that this government is very dirty, and the dirtiest figure is this the Attorney General, right?
Mr. Wong.
Mr. Wong. Everybody in the world has to remember this guy, and in Hong Kong history has to remember this guy, Mr. Wong Yan Long. What he did is he has the right to be neutral, and he has the right to be like justice. And he is a good Christian that he tells everybody he has a good image, a handsome guy, but in his heart, I think he's really, really dirty.
Ken is a Christian, so he can legitimately comment on this. And let me comment on another aspect. Actually, the Christians themselves, right, must remember the Christians at least has 300 years of civil disobedience. At least 300 years. Why? Because when Jesus Christ died and resurrected, and then they followed him, they are contradicting this Roman law, right? Because they refuse to bow to the Roman emperor as God, right? But this is a Roman law that demands all Roman citizens to do so, or Roman subjects. And Christians have 300 years of civil disobedience, and this brought upon them tremendous martyrdom and persecution, right? And Christians has persisted 300 years until this unjust law was repealed by Emperor Constantine. This tradition is very important for Christians to remember. Otherwise, I very doubt that they are true Christians or not, or they are intelligent Christians or not, right? Either they are very ignorant and obscurantist Christian, or they are not Christians at all until they understand this point.
Regarding the citizen radio, so there will be like 6 former or current lawmakers will be judged on the 15th of January. And probably we will send a photo and this program and maybe a statement to the United Nations of Human Rights.
Yes, so we have to appeal to the United Nations.
We have to do that because if it's lawfully to prolong and delay all the court case in order to make like LSD lead of social democrats and people who fight for their own rights and make them become no money. And for example, if a lawmaker is bankrupt in Hong Kong, he cannot be a lawmaker.
Sure. And governments, oppressive governments around